It's another week. What the F happened? And holy crap, is there a lot going on? Snaggy and I have been discussing this. We didn't even know where to start. But hey, should we start with the surging debts in this country? So it makes perfect sense. Inflation's going crazy. Everything's costing more. People aren't making enough to support their standard of living that they got used to when everything was really good. And now things are starting to deteriorate fast. I mean, look at the layoffs. Every day. Every single day, there's more layoffs, more announcements. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's Twitter or IBM or Apple. They're all starting to lay people off. Target just reported terrible forecasts for the future. That's retail's backbone right there. I mean, next is Walmart. And where does it end? Well, go back in history and you can see that. Then we hear last night that Trump is running for presidency. But you know what? We already knew that, right? We knew that because The Simpsons did an episode that we're going to cover where they said that he was going to run in 2024. And I mean, gosh, if we ever want to know what's going to happen in the future, just start watching The Simpsons. But that's just what we're going to talk about. That's the beginning. Snaggy and I are going to break it down in today's What the F Happened. Stay with us. We will be right back. All right, we're back at it. It is What the F time. Mr. Snaggy in the house. What's happening, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad. What's happening down in Florida?
We got beautiful weather. We have an event going on tomorrow over in Sarasota. So if you're in the west coast of Florida, we're doing an event in Sarasota at 6:30 p.m. It's a real estate meetup group. We're expecting about 50, 60 people there. And I'll be speaking about how to become your own bank and what the money multiplier can do for real estate investors. So that should be a good time. And then we're actually going camping this weekend. So I'll be camping on Saturday and Sunday, which should be interesting because I'm usually more of a Ritz-Carlton Hilton type of guy, but we're gonna take the kid camping and have some fun with that. And other than that, just keeping an eye on the markets. We had the 3-day training this past weekend, and it was phenomenal, Chris. You did an excellent job. I mean, the feedback I've been getting from all of the people that attended, just mind-blowing stuff. I had conversations this week. Like, you guys have opened my eyes to things that I didn't even know I exist. And the timing is perfect because my retirement accounts are down. My brokerage accounts that I've been leveraging are completely down, and I don't know what to do. And we need help. And so the timing could not be better. And we're excited for this week and what we got for this morning on What the F.
Heck yeah. No, lots of good stuff. How many of you from Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, how many of you joined us this past weekend for that 3-day money school? And the topic of it was, now you're the bank. Well, actually, you're the bank now. What's next? That's what we talked about. And boy, did we deliver. We hit all the topics of exactly what's going on in the markets, what's going on in the economy. And you know what? We're going to hit some of those because every day there's news tabloids coming up. I mean, I saw just this morning that Target reported earnings and they came in awful. Their stock is plummeting. I mean, gosh, it just seems to be the normal trend. I mean, everybody's reporting, but yet the markets are still going up. All of you should just sit back and just ask yourself, how does that make any sense? There's layoffs going on everywhere. Inflation's running hot, but yet the markets are going up in light of all this bad news. You'd have to really go back and study 1929 to understand the investor sentiment and also the hanky-panky that goes on behind the scenes with the markets and the stock market specifically when it all comes to an election year. We just finished midterms. Trump came on last night and announced he was going to run for presidency. Big surprise there, right? I'm sure that one came as a shocker to all of you. Of course he was going to run. The Simpsons predicted it. Stephen, don't you have a clip on The Simpsons that we can play?
I was looking for the clip. It looks like I got a picture. I don't watch The Simpsons, so I don't know the whole backstory. So maybe somebody online knows the actual story of this. But I know they're saying, I guess there was an article where Homer was doing something and there's a Trump 2024 sign in the background, and then they does that still show? Yeah. So hang on.
It's always super subtle. And, I don't know if any of you Folks, yeah, this is Lazy Cash. For any of you that don't know him, he's back in the house. You know, he can't ever miss a training or miss a show. Right, buddy? Good boy. All right, here we go.
Yeah, so it just says The Simpsons predicted Donald Trump would run for president in 2024, but it doesn't really say the details on it. So I'm just curious if anybody does know what that looks like. But The Simpsons are always predicting the future, it seems. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, you know, I don't know how much, it's kind of weird, but, you know, you look at a lot of those photos that are on social media of, you know, like old pictures, like I'm talking back in 1900s, and like you got people with cell phones. I mean, some of that stuff's just edited in, but how is it that the Simpsons have got so many things right? I don't know. Maybe it's coincidence. Maybe they just got somebody in there that's super good at predicting things. And if that's the case, man, we should be asking him who's going to win the Super Bowl and put some big bets on. Because I bet you there was probably a Simpson somewhere that said who was going to win the Super Bowl this year. I would say that would be a good bet to make. But it's crazy. You know, the only thing we don't know, and this is kind of the thing, you know, that gets me, and because politics plays so much of a part in the news, in the economy, and also in the elections, it's so intertwined today. I mean, you got DeSantis, you got all this news. Is DeSantis going to run? I mean, he's done a phenomenal job in Florida. I mean, I don't think there's anyone, I don't care left or right, that could ever say that DeSantis hasn't done a pretty darn good job. He's gotten a lot of things right in Florida. And because of that, a lot of people from New York and California have flocked to Florida, driving real estate up. But now you're seeing a lot of pockets of weakening real estate prices in even Florida, like a place that should hold better than any. I mean, real estate values across the country are coming down. I have a private REIT, which is commercial. It's like a lot of commercial space, like Amazon warehouses and lots of big commercial pharmaceutical stuff. And I just got my statement the other day, and it had a severe drop in value. So the NAV, the net asset values, dropped significantly. And that was because weakening price. Because a private REIT, or any REIT really, they have to value their assets on a regular basis. And every quarter, this one does it. And sure enough, this quarter, proof is in the pudding. The values on the appraisals came down significantly. And you're going to start seeing more and more of that. You know, the other thing too, Stephen, I think we should bring up is Airbnbs. We kind of touched on this, but I just saw it in the news. I don't know if you have an article on that, but in the news, it said Airbnbs, like the bookings on them, dropped significantly. And that, folks, is not good, because there's a lot of people that were making a lot of money in Airbnbs. A lot of people own really high-end places, millionaires and billionaires. Yeah, here you go.
Yeah, we talked about this, Chris. We talked about this actually about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago on this show, where it was on Reddit at the time. And the Reddit users were talking about in all the private Facebook groups, how they're all starting to talk about, hey, bookings are slowing down right now, and things look like they're kind of starting to change. And now you see about a month and a half later, it's coming out into mainstream news. Airbnb, this is on Market Watch. Airbnb hosts say bookings fell off a cliff amid an influx of new vacation rentals and rising prices. And actually, this was about 3 weeks ago. So we went from 80% occupancy to zero, one host says, in a common refrain among property owners who say they saw a sudden decline in the summer months. So I think your revenge summer, Chris, was finally starting to wrap up, and people are just done with it now, just like you've been saying now for 6 months.
Yeah, you know, I think if you guys are looking to place some bets on things, I think you should listen to what we say, because we've gotten it right quite well on this show. I mean, God, for years we've been just saying what's coming, and you know, this whole thing, and here it is. Now, coincidence is probably a better thing. It's not The Simpsons. I don't have a time machine like they do to go back and actually really see it. But you know what? We definitely got this Airbnb thing right, but it's just logic. You know, if you really just think about the markets and you think about how things work, and if you understand the overall economy, the debt cycles, and you understand how it all plays in, it's not hard to see why real estate's going to come down and why bookings for Airbnbs are coming down. Revenge summer, crazy amount of bookings. Everybody went out and got the revenge for COVID, for being locked up. But now people are settling into the winter season. Oh, by the way, Stephen, did you hear that, like, up in our area, we're going to get like dumped on? I mean, like a severe dump. And when I say dump, I don't mean the toilet. I mean snow. That's what we call it up here in Buffalo. We're getting like several feet of snow in the south towns, like the resorts. And, you know, we'll be snowboarding by next weekend. Woohoo!
Wow, really?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
No, I did not hear about that, but I'll be thinking about it while I'm camping and sweating my butt off.
Well, what people don't know is, you know, I love that Drew just mentioned it. You know, About a year ago, or even a little longer, I told everybody my crystal ball was in the shop. Well, finally, the shop owner got my crystal ball fixed and it's back. So that's why we're getting everything so right lately.
But seriously though, Chris, like, talking about, people traveling and then starting to slow down, and I think it's financial too. I mean, we'll pull up in a second this article, household debt soars at faster pace in 15 years as credit card use surges, Fed report says. The next page is just tech layoff after tech layoff, Amazon, Meta, Twitter, um, all of them are just laying off thousands and thousands of employees right now. Amazon just said approximately 10,000 employees laid off. Meta last week, 11,000 laid off. Twitter laying out. I mean, so it's just nonstop. And, I was talking to somebody this week on the phone, and they told me, they said they had a good size, multi 7-figure brokerage account that they were taking loans off of to live off of, because they had owed some debts, and instead of cashing out and all that, they just took large loan for, leveraging the brokerage account. And he said it's been great for the last several years. It was a 1.5% interest rate, but he said just this year, it's almost 6 times. It's up over 7% now. His interest rate has risen from low ones to up over 7. And he said the amount of interest that he's paying, because it's interest only, the amount of interest that he's paying is just wiped out anything that he was living on. So now all of his money is just going to the interest, and he has nothing left to live on. And he's like, I'm stuck under this loan now. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get out of it. And so somebody that was living a nice lifestyle and traveling and doing everything now has no money to do that with. And I just wonder how many people how many people leveraged real estate and wasn't smart with the money. I mean, we talk about leveraging real estate and investing that money to make more money and make the spread, but how many people leverage out real estate and go out there and take a trip or put an addition on their home or whatever the case is, which is fine, but it's fine until it's not fine any longer financially when these rates start to jump, and there's no stop in sight. I mean, they're saying we're looking at December, another big increase from the Fed, and maybe in 2023 things will start to slow, but that's a very split message amongst economists right now.
It is. And, Isabel coming in here from Instagram just said the financial crisis might be the opportunity to regenerate the economy for sustainability and to see the opportunity. And couldn't agree more. I mean, we've been saying that for a while. For some people, this recessionary time that we're going into, this high interest rate cycle that we're going into, these uncertain times that we're going into is either going to be a huge issue for some families or a massive opportunity for others. But it's only going to be a massive opportunity if people get their house in order, if they listen and start planning for this. But I hate to say it, but you're running out of time. I don't even like saying you're running out of time. You're sort of there. Like, the time is now. If you're going to make reallocations to your portfolios to protect and preserve your assets, then this is the time. This is the now. Coming into the end of the year, fourth quarter can go either way with the markets. I mean, fourth quarter is typically a really, really strong quarter for the stock market, but not when earnings are coming out the way they are, not when companies are laying people off. I mean, it's a severe issue. I mean, it's not going to be a merry, merry Christmas for a lot of people, because a lot of people are losing their jobs, and that's going to continue to get worse as we enter the winter season, as you see it in the news, folks, as we go deeper and deeper into this recession. Like, don't be fooled by the news. Some of the news is right if you know what to look for, but most of it is complete propaganda and garbage, because they're sitting there saying that, that the Wall Street rallied last week because they got what they wanted. The inflation index went down a little bit. They were hoping for, I believe, 7.9, and they got 7.7. But let's just really put that into perspective. That's not a win, folks. We went from 9s to 7.7. But how many times has the Fed raised interest rates? Like Stephen just said, double. The interest rates have more than doubled, and they're going to continue to go. And 7.7 isn't a celebration. 7.7 is a failure, because we need to get to 2. That's their target, 2, not 7. But, Wall Street liked it because they were moving in the right direction. Just gave them a reason to, basically pump the market up and build some excitement, and the news gets behind it. And then, institutions, well, what do? They use that as a time to take a ton of profits off the table. They're taking money out of the markets while everybody else is putting money in, because that's how FOMO works. Everybody thinks they're missing out on something, and the institutions are getting off. I always use the Noah's Ark example, right? And not animals. So take away the animals from Noah's Ark, but just imagine, the institutions, the big money is getting out the back of the boat while everybody else is piling in, and then they're just going to sink the boat. that's what's going to happen, because that's what they will do. They're in it for the money, folks. That's it. Make no two ways about it. We can't move the markets. The only time we've ever seen the retail investors move the markets, and it was just one consolidated thing, was with Reddit. That whole Reddit thing with the meme stocks, that's the first time I personally have seen retail investors ever be able to influence a particular stock. They didn't move the markets. They moved a particular stock. And that was rare too. So right here, so we got a couple people saying DeSantis isn't good, and but that's just opinion. You guys are welcome to have your own opinion.
What's wrong with DeSantis?
I don't know. I don't even want to go there. The economy gained 260,000 jobs last month, and the economy is growing. Facts matter, Snowflake. You're delusional. I'm sorry, you're fucking delusional. Who just said that? Honestly, you don't even know where to get the man's splainer or something like that on TikTok. I don't mean to be an asshole, and I've not gone into these rants lately, but honestly, where do you get your information from? You must be watching MSNBC, or maybe you're watching CNN, or maybe it's whatever channel you're watching.
Probably part of Jim Cramer's professional trading group.
You're looking at lagging information. You're looking at old information. Yes, did the economy and did we gain jobs? First off, delusional. Of course we gained jobs. Everybody didn't have a job during the pandemic. What are you even thinking? Oh, the economy's doing well? Go out there and look at people. Why is it that household debts are on the climb? Why is it that people are having a hard time affording food for their families, housing for their families? You're fucking delusional. Get a fucking job, you bum.
Here's his mentor right here.
Unreal. I don't get pissed off very easy, but shit like that, when people literally get information and they think they're smarter than they are, that is the most false thing anyone can say. Did we get jobs? Yeah, we got jobs because everybody lost their job. Everybody was sitting at home. So, of course, the economy gained jobs. And they're losing them now. They're losing them. Facts matter, Snowflake. Snowflake, I'd punch you right in the face if I saw you right now. Anyway, moving on. That's the scrapper in me, man. Sometimes people just need a good, swift punch right in the fucking nose. That's it. What's happening? All right, you just got here. Well, you just missed it, man. You just missed it. All right, what else we got? We got to get back on this. Let's talk about FTX, Stephen. FTX is big in the news. You got Coinbase all over the news. A lot of hanky-panky going on in some of these exchanges, which is a frightening thing. It's a frightening thing because it really hits the investor confidence when it comes to crypto. I mean, Bitcoin, Ethereum, I mean, are they solid or not? There's no intrinsic value. If you ask, Warren Buffett or any of them, they hate it. But there's a lot of people that are in it, and I think it's very real. I think it's going to be around for the long haul. But the problem is you got this really there's no scrutiny, there's no governing body or no governance over the exchanges. I'm not talking about Bitcoin or Ethereum, the exchanges where people are buying these. Coinbase is the only publicly traded one, so they do have the overlookers, the SEC and that. But these other ones were just private. So I think one of the smart things, if you got Bitcoin or Ethereum, find yourself a really good secure wallet to get that money moved into. I mean, you can still use the exchanges to buy, but I would quickly transfer that into a wallet. We just had Spencer Montgomery on. I love him. He's honestly somebody that I've learned more about crypto from than anyone else. And he was saying the same thing, because I mean, is Coinbase, gonna be one of the exchanges that goes down? I doubt it. I doubt it just because they're publicly traded and, they're probably playing a little safer game than some of these other ones. But FTX, man, Stephen, what do you got to say about that?
Holy hell, what a story. I mean, it's going to be the story of the year once it's all said and done. It's this story just keeps getting deeper and deeper and more and more money involved, but billions of dollars of customer money is just vanished. And this is making Bernie Madoff look like an amateur, to tell you the truth. And when you really start getting into, I could even pull something up and spend the rest of the show talking about it. It's that intricate. And to give you an example, Michael Lewis, one of my favorite authors, wrote The Big Short and Liar's Poker and Moneyball and so many great books. He was following around the FTX CEO, Sam Bankman-Fried, for the last 6 months, just collecting and going right into this entire debacle. And this company went from a $32 billion company down to zero overnight, essentially. And just the amount of fraud. These guys were using customer money for personal means, and they were trading stocks with personal friends and buying and selling back and forth, and it got into politics. And this guy's actually, Sam Bankman-Fried's the second largest individual donor to the Democratic Party. And you start seeing how he was working with politicians to basically create laws to push all of his competition out. And what ended up being the downfall was CZ, the Binance guy, the Binance CEO, came in and basically said, all right, enough is enough of this bullshit. And he basically outed FTX for what it was, and said, listen, you guys are on your own. We're not helping you. And that basically caused the collapse of it. And so the story is very intricate and amazing, but at the end of the day, it's going to drag a lot of other crypto exchanges down. We're already seeing them starting to go bankrupt and collapse as well. There's been several of them since. BlockFi just went bankrupt yesterday, or they're going to file for bankruptcy. So it's dragging a bunch of others with it down. Janet Yellen, as well as many other politicians, are now coming out this week saying, hey, this is what happened with FTX when crypto is unregulated. So this is going to give us a reason to completely regulate the entire crypto industry. The Fed came out, or the Treasury, Janet Yellen, also came out this week and said they are going to start testing right now this week a central bank digital currency that they can implement in this country. And they're using FTX as the catalyst for why to do that right now. So there's definitely a lot more to the story. The guy's on the run. They can't find him. He's saying he's still in the Bahamas. Some people are saying he fled to Argentina. His private jet, was the most tracked airplane for the week. You know, you can go online and like track jets, you know, it was the number one track. So they're trying to figure out where he was going to escape to. I mean, the story just keeps going on and on, Chris. It is bizarre, to say the least.
It's very bizarre, and it's just going to get more and more bizarre. But I think, you know, just like anything else, you know, when FTX came out, I'm sure all the others that were, you know, doing this hanky-panky business, I don't know what else to call it, I'm sure the cracks are going to start to show in them. So, you know, this is definitely a time to play it conservative with the crypto space. Really, like some people are commenting here in regards to, you know, different wallets to use. I'm not an expert. So, you know, just go out there and do research on different wallets, but don't lose your passwords. Spencer Montgomery, definitely somebody that you should look up. He was talking about a free wallet that does not require you to like have the password. It's done differently. So I think you're going to see a lot more of, you know, evolution in wallets and also in exchanges, a lot more scrutiny from the government. And hopefully the government doesn't just, I mean, you all understand that, you know, we're probably in the midst of a great reset as they talk about, but it seems like the government always looks for a reason to catapult into something. And FTX very well, like Stephen said, might be that catapult to them pushing a new digital currency, which would be terrible. I want you to picture a world right now. I mean, we have fiat money, so still not ideal. I mean, back when our dollar was backed by gold, like that was a very unique time in history. And many of you lived through that. I mean, you remember that. The economy and, you know, the United States was just a stronger nation back then. And we went off that in the 1970s when Nixon, you know, didn't want to default on debt. So it took us off that, off having gold back the dollar. And ever since then, it's just sort of just been a downward spiral. So when you're really looking at what could happen with the digital dollar, here's the scary thing. The digital dollar, we would have zero control over it, because they could basically, you know, they could control everything just at a computer. They could control your money. They could control how much you spend. I'm probably getting out of line, but, you know, it's going to give them way more control over our money. And that's a frightening thing. And the scary part about that is, folks, is we live in the United States of America. Some people are coming in from Iraq, and we got people coming in from Germany. And whoever came in from Germany, I do want to say I'm happy that it's warm in Germany right now, because with the shortage of, you know, gas right now, they've got a major crisis going on in Europe. If it does get cold super quick, they're not going to have the gas to support that, and that won't be good. So I was very happy to hear the person that said that about, you know, Germany being warm. Thank God. You know, it's going to be an interesting year. But I think we just, if we live in the United States, we have to use the currency that they provide, because that's just the way it works. Money is just a means of exchange, and the only way you can exchange is by using the currency that's allowed. And unfortunately, right now it's the dollar. And if the U.S. did go to a digital dollar, like Doesn't matter. Even with the stuff we do, BYOB and all the giant mutually owned insurance companies we use, they're all based on the dollar. You have to be. There's no other way. So, you can't really get too doomsday about it. If it happens, we'll deal with it. We'll find better ways to stay in control. I mean, Private Money Club, really helps a lot of people. Yeah, Stephen, let's talk about that. I'll just stop right there on this one.
Yeah, I mean, New York Fed launches 12-week CBDC pilot program with major banking giants, including BNY Mellon, which actually remind me to tell you a story about BY and Mellon in just a second. Also, Citibank, US Bank, Wells Fargo will be issuing tokens and settling transactions through simulated central bank reserves as part of the pilot. So they're moving forward with it.
Yeah, it's crazy, folks. I mean, I thought we had more time on the digital dollar, but FTX definitely is that catapult. They were just waiting for it. And believe me, you'll just see it front and center in the news, because if this is what they're trying to do, test and push a digital dollar, well, by golly, that's what they're going to do. I don't know what it means. One scary thing that, you can see pretty obvious is just how we're looked at by other leaders in the world. I know Biden's out in China, or was out in China, it's just not what I would envision. When I think of the United States of America, I think of the greatest country on earth, the land of opportunity. But today, I just don't think other leaders look at the United States that way, and our leadership. I don't think they look at it in a sense of like they're the leading nation. I think what they're looking at it being like, I hate to say this, but probably saying, yep, this is probably, if the time is now, or if there's ever going to be a time, it's now. And that's a frightening thing. But hopefully he can keep the peace over there in China, not piss anybody off, not stumble too much on his words. Got to at least put our faith in it, because he is the president, and there's not much we can do about that at this point. But yeah, just keep the peace. Stop poking, the Saudis with the oil and OPEC and trying to throw demands at them. We don't need a world war, folks. That's, to be honest, like if I were to give my opinion about something that really scares me, that's it. A world war. I mean, you're hearing all the stuff in the news today about that missile that hit Poland and all the stuff going on, Russia, Ukraine, like, that right there could be the catalyst for what could tip off a world war. I mean, literally just one thing, but I can't imagine a world war. I mean, there's too many nuclear bombs out there, too many just insane people out there. I don't know. That's by the push of one button, it could all just be over, and everything that we have in this beautiful world could just be over. That's a frightening thing, but I don't think that could ever happen. But again, who knows? So what else, Stephen? I mean, let's talk about debt. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. So kind of on that real fast. I mean, just on the crypto thing, this just came out this morning. So Genesis, one of the largest crypto exchanges, Genesis Global Capital, but they have a lending unit, and it's halting all customer withdrawals. As of the third quarter of this year, they had $2.8 billion in active loans, and just this morning they put a complete halt. Right here, they put a complete temporarily suspending redemptions and new loan originations out of a $2.8 billion industry. So this is just having massive implications, because if you don't have access to that money, like we're talking about, Chris, and it's just gonna, does this switch screens when I do that? Can you see the debt now?
No, you probably have to undo it and then redo it.
Yeah, Zoom lets you do that. I don't think StreamYard does. So let me just pull this up. So this is the debt you're talking about, and people have less access. Now they're gonna have to use other loans, other credit cards. And so that's what we're starting to see now. Household debt soars at fastest pace in 15 years as credit card use surges, Fed report says. And just do the math, Chris. When was 15 years ago? 2007 going into 2008.
Jeez, man, crazy to think that that's when feels like that was yesterday to me.
I know. That's why I had to do the math.
But I mean, the scariest thing about debt is, if we just look at history and we look at debt and we look at what brings somebody down, let's just talk about individuals, forget about countries and their debts, but what brings individuals down during a recessionary or, a down economy is debt every time. And it's frightening to see debt surging at the time when everything else is falling apart, when the cost of everything are going up. But that actually makes all the sense in the world, because if inflation is running hot, if everything's costing people more and there's less access to money, like you see, and a lot of people had money in different assets that now have given up those gains, or a large portion of those gains, or maybe they've got their money in one of these exchanges that is halting. I mean, that's less money people can use. So what are they going to do? They still have to support their family. So they go to credit cards and they start using debts, which is exactly what you're seeing. And now the scary thing with the credit cards is, as rates move up, credit card interest rates are moving up. So you're seeing the average credit cards now right around 25 to 29%. That might have always been the norm for some of you, but like that is going to be the new norm. Actually, I read an article somewhere where they were pushing above 30, and I didn't think they were allowed to do that, but I don't know. I don't know everything, nor do I try to. Somebody was just saying here it would never, Connor Ward D54, it would never happen. And I like seeing that. Connor, I don't know your background. I don't know if you're military, but if you are, that first off, thanks for your service to all of you, active or non-active military. Thank you for your service. But anything you could say that would kind of make us all feel better that would never happen would definitely be very, very helpful for everybody on here. So if you do know something, but back to debt, that's definitely going to be what brings a lot of families down. A lot of bankruptcies. They're going to default on a lot of their debts. And unfortunately, for one, again, like I said, that's going to be a tragic event. For another person, that's going to be an opportunity to buy a house at a really low price or a car at a really low price.
And look right there, Chris. I mean, to that point, real estate, we always talk about, just because you're not seeing changes in real estate now, it takes time because the rest of the market changes first. And, right here at the end of this article, everything else is going to hell essentially. And then right here, foreclosures remain low, even as pandemic related moratoriums expire. So wait till this starts to change. And that's when you really start seeing that ship start to go down quick.
I hate to say this, but Bill coming in from Facebook nailed it. He said, debt equals slavery. It really does. Debt is the modern day slavery, because if you don't get a handle on your debt, like, it will control your life. It will make you miserable. It will rip families apart. I mean, we've all seen it before. I mean, during recessionary periods, divorce rates go through the roof. I mean, being a happily married man with a daughter, like, I can't even envision that. But the good news is many, many years ago, I got out of debt. The only debts we have are good debts with our rental properties. And that's even minimal. I mean, very minimal, but we have zero debt. The only debt I have, which I have lots of this, is debt to myself. I make loans for my banking policies to my businesses. I take car loans for myself, but I'm always paying myself back. And, last time I checked, if things got rough and I couldn't make my monthly payments, I can just go to a mirror, beg myself for a lower monthly payment or an extension, and usually myself will grant that extension. So when you're the bank, you make the rules, and that's the fun part. But unfortunately, my situation is definitely not the norm. It's I wish it was. If it was, a lot more people would be in control of their money, but that's what we're trying to do. But we can only do it slowly. Things take time. And this catapult right here, as we're talking with the U.S. government catapulting into a digital currency, I feel like this recessionary period for what we do at Money School, Money Multiplier, Private Money Club is going to be our catapult to really help people realize, hey, maybe we should start looking at taking back control of our money. Hey, we should start looking at being our own bank, because that really is the one thing that will put most people at the place. I did an Insta story today, Stephen, and I think it was really important. We talk about it all the time, but I don't think we talk about it enough. Is the fastest way to make money, the fastest way to wealth, is to look at where all your money goes, to take back the money you're giving away. For example, if you just created a budget and you put all your debts on the right side, and you figured out your debt's monthly payment and your debt's interest rate, and you went down that line and you added it all up, that dollar amount every month is what you're giving away. And then if you take all the interest rates and you add them all up and divide them by the number of debts you had, you'll get an average interest rate, an average interest that you're paying to these other debts. And then just imagine, like, what if you were able to pay that debt to yourself? What if you were able to make that monthly payment back to your bank and also get that return? That's the guaranteed return. It's the fastest way to wealth, folks. Don't try to take risks right now. Don't try to invest in this thing or invest in that thing to take high risk. If you've got debt, that's where you start. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And it sounds like a lot of people have debt. So that's the single greatest advice I could give anybody. Instead of focusing on everywhere else you can make money outside of your normal job where you afford a living, and that could be on the chopping block too, look at your debts. And then get with us or watch our videos or join us for our wealth webinar this afternoon, because we're always talking about ways to take back the money you're giving away. It's the fastest way to wealth. So that's my advice for the day. But, a lot of people don't quite understand it. So you got to do a little bit of work. It's going to take some time, and you got to learn how to be your own bank. All right. What else do we got here? IBC is such a wonderful thing. Thanks. Thank you, Morgan. Let's see. I'm just trying to find some good questions come in. We got lots of stuff coming in over here on TikTok, but I want to share some love for over here on YouTube and Facebook. Let's see, bank account. Yeah, so here's one. This is interesting. Jim Collins. People have already had bank accounts closed due to their political beliefs. That's insane. Like imagine that, just because, let's just use DeSantis, because that seemed to be, I never thought DeSantis was a controversial thing to say. I thought most people respected him, but I guess I live under a rock. I just don't watch the news. Like DeSantis, like imagine if just because you liked DeSantis and voted for him, imagine if like a bank had influence and just closed your account because of that political belief or because of a post you put on Facebook or Twitter. I mean, well, not so much Twitter anymore, but that's a good thing to talk about. Yeah, so there's just a lot of things happening right now. Fastest way, Travis. The fastest way to money is to marry rich, lottery, and have rich parents that pass away. Yeah, Travis, you know what? You're probably right. So if you marry rich, as long as you're happily married, or you win the lottery, good luck on that one. And chances are you're going to give all the money back. Or have rich parents that pass away. I mean, hey, that's a pretty good one. But none of those sound like a real easy, attainable thing for most of us. But I do appreciate your comment, man. That's pretty funny.
Oftentimes, on the flip side of that, the fastest way to lose money is to have it given to you that way. So you got to be smart at the same time, right?
That's true. Oh, I love it. Sugar Danny 01 said debt-free here from self-insured. So there he goes. He's self-insured, but people self-destruct in debt on their free will. Yeah, that's exactly what Stephen was just saying. Oh, Savage Freak said, sorry, it was him. He farted. Interesting. Well, anyway, hey, at least somebody's got a sense of humor going on out there. I had to go in and block our buddy, who was delusional about the reality of what's going on in the economy. And I hear that every once in a while. Like people literally think that the economy is actually doing well because they read the news or, they see that there was, new jobs created, 260,000 new jobs, which he was absolutely correct. There was 260,000 new jobs created, okay? But that's that's old news. And it was created, new jobs were created because nobody had jobs. Nobody was working. The country and the world was shut down. So how difficult is it to find 260,000 new jobs when the whole country shuts down and then opens back up and you have revenge summer? I mean, can we just get a logic? Can anyone comment on that? Just a logical answer? I mean, seems like a pretty easy thing to do, right? Like lots of new jobs when everything opens up for the first time in years and people are actually allowed to travel and, go out unrestricted without the fears. I don't know, but hey, what do I know? That guy's, he made a point to come in and say, get a job. He said, I make over $1 million a year. How much do you make? I don't flaunt that. Like you guys can find out how much I make. Look it up. Like it's not hard, but I don't know. I just love it when people go right to that. I make over $1 million. Yeah. Until you don't. Keep believing what you believe, buddy, and you're not going to have any money. So,
Chris, Jim said, Jim on YouTube said, per Travis's statement, I'm available to marry rich, very rich, elderly women over 90 and very close to death.
See, now that is a go-getter right there, folks. That's somebody that knows how to take the proper leak. He gets the information. Travis comes in and says the fastest way to money is to marry rich, lottery, or have rich parents that pass away. Jim hears that. He says, oh, I smell opportunity. And he makes a public post. Hey, I'm available to any elderly women over 90 years old that are very close to death. I'm an eligible bachelor.
Chris, this is the new Private Money Club 2.0. Instead of matching borrowers and lenders, we're matching rich old women with young.
Oh my God! Oh, we're gonna have to build a division.
Let's go.
Dude, we're gonna have to build a division into our dating site for money instead of being
walking left and right to a whole new meaning there.
Instead of just being lending, there's gonna be a whole nother division. I don't even know what you call that with being politically correct about it. But I mean, I don't go. God, I'm not even gonna go there. But
and my wife just came running across the house. Her me yelling is staring at me now. Like, what are you doing?
Oh man. We'll just let her know we're going to expand Private Money Club to be a real dating site for men looking for elderly women that are almost ready to die. So we're gonna branch off into that division. Oh my gosh, we're gonna get so much hate for that one.
You never know where.
All right, Wing Butler coming in from YouTube said $100,000 in IBT. Awesome. Paid off his cars pay off his cars or get in a deal. What principles should I consider? That's a great question. It could go both ways. Like I like both. And Right now, I pay my cars off because that to me just it eliminates all risk. So like, both of the vehicles that me and my wife have, we used our policies to pay for those vehicles, and then we make monthly payments back to our bank. And even though I whatever the going rate is, I think I think I pay myself back about 5.2, and then my truck, because it was when the interest rates are going up, is like 6.17 or something like that. That's the interest rate I pay. Now that's a lot less than you could make if you lent it out on Private Money Club, but lending it out on Private Money Club adds a little bit of a level of risk, right? The risk is the person could not pay you, and then you can't make your car payment. So for me, I'm just a simple man, and paying, just buying the car or paying off the car loan, making the exact same payment back to yourself, even if it's a lower interest rate, that's the safest play. But a lot of times, and we have shown this, I'm not sure what just happened to Stephen, but a lot of times we've shown this where people can take the money in their IBC, especially 100 grand, that's a good chunk, lend it out, with a secured loan at a first secured loan, make 12 or 15%, plenty of deals on Private Money Club at 12 to 15, use that interest payment to then make your car payment. That's very efficient because that's your money working for you. So Wing, I love it, but it could go both ways. It's really whatever one that meets your needs and goals. And I don't think there's a bad choice there, bud. Thanks for that. Here goes Travis again. There should always be new jobs in the pot. Wait. Yeah, you're right. There should always be new jobs if the population is growing. That is a true statement, very true statement. So
but there's trends.
Yeah, it's just trends, and population's pretty much always growing. I mean, yes, there's a little bit of a shortage for, the retirees or the aging population and the new population, but he's absolutely correct. There will always be more jobs going in the future. But, politicians love to just hang on to that and use that as their thing. I don't, right or left, doesn't matter. What do you think about moving a 401k to an EQRP rather than an IRA? I think it's a great idea. Stephen, you're really big with that. Ingrid said that question. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, EQRP is essentially a type of self-directed retirement plan. So absolutely. I know they're a little more involved paperwork wise and whatnot. So I would find out the pros and cons. I don't exactly know the pros of one versus an IRA, self-directed IRA, but no, I mean, anytime you can control your retirement dollars is a great idea.
Yeah. And this is just one clarification. Somebody on TikTok sending the heavy said U.S. population is declining, and that person's right. So it is. U.S. population is shrinking, but then you've got. So I was going with Travis on more of a broad scale, a world economy or world population. India is skyrocketing. So India has got more population growth than any other country right now, as I've read, and I don't have that as a fact, but followed up with Sugar Danny saying over 8 billion now on the planet. So I was more globally talking, and I think Travis was too. But yeah, U.S. population is definitely declining, and that's because most families can't afford to have a large family. Back in the 60s or 50s or 60s, back then it was just the common to have a lot of kids. And you'd have a lot of kids because then those kids would help around the house and sometimes work, on the farm or whatever it was. So you needed larger families. Today, most families can't afford more kids. It's just very expensive. I mean, I have one daughter and I'm literally contemplating whether or not I want any more. And it's not because I can't afford it, but it is. It's just such a very expensive thing. Now, having a child is the greatest gift on earth. So whatever the expense is, it is. But if a family can't afford it, then you're definitely going to see shrinking population, which is exactly what you're seeing in the U.S. Japan's seeing the same thing. I believe even China's seeing population decline, but I could be wrong there. But that could be because they came out with laws saying you could only have one child. I mean, that's not really a smart thing to do. What about taking out a loan from a 401k? Oh, I love this. Graymond, _81 on TikTok. What about taking out a loan from your 401k to pay off high interest rate credit cards? Brilliant. We've done a lot of teaching on that. I've been teaching that for, well over probably 5-6 years. The first time I ever taught that was in Hawaii, and it went over really well. So what he's saying is, if you got a 401k that you're actively working at, typically you can take a loan. Not all of them, but most of them, you have a loan provision. You can take $50,000 or 50%, whichever is greater. Okay. So let's just say you got $20,000 in credit card debts with an average interest rate of, let's just call it 15%, just throwing a number out there. What this person, Graymond, is saying, would it make sense to take a loan from my 401k, pay those credit cards off, then take the monthly payment that I was making to those credit cards and recapture that back to my 401k? Absolutely. And then some people would say, yeah, but the 401k loan charges me interest. Indeed, they do 5-6%, somewhere around there. It's usually tied to prime. But that interest rate that the 401k loan charges you, or the 401k administrator charges you, goes back into your account. So not only with that strategy, the 401k loans, you take back the money that you're giving away very quickly with money you already have, plus you get the money out of the stock market. Ding, ding, ding. Good time to do that. You then take back all the interest rate you were giving away, but you keep all the interest that they're charging you. So it's a super smart strategy, and I appreciate you bringing that up on TikTok. Thank you. Hello from Greece. Interesting. How to find a SELP. So that's interesting. So that's what we do. So it comes by many names. SELP is a supplemental employee, or God, what is it? SELP. I've heard it's a supplemental employee. Dude, it just slipped my mind. SELP. I just read that book, Power of Zero. It's in there, and that's probably where they're getting it from. SELP. SELP. Now I got challenged, and now I had a mind fart. Got to drink more coffee. Oh, settlement. I'm sorry, I got them wrong. Settlement expense loan program. I think maybe that's what you're talking about. All right, I thought you were talking about using life insurance as a retirement, but as I said that, like they're similar acronyms. So I'm not really familiar with settlement expense loan program. So it's not an area of my expertise. I can't really comment on that. What else we got, Stephen? What other topics can we hit or questions can we hit?
Yeah, I mean, Elon Musk is still doing his thing with Twitter. So, he just came out this morning demanding Twitter staff commit to long hours or leave, and sent an email out to all of his employees and said, what was it right here? He sent new Twitter CEO and sole director Elon Musk sent a company-wide email to remaining employees. Remember, he already fired majority of them of the social media business on Wednesday, demanding they commit to working long hours at high intensity or quit and receive 3 months of severance if they did not consent to those conditions or support his vision for Twitter 2.0. And he's already been out there testing different features. He's come out and said, I'm going to do a lot of dumb things over the next several months while we're figuring this out. We're going to test things. We're going to take them away. We're going to try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we're going to change it. But you're going to see a lot of stuff happening. One of the first implementations he's doing, which he just punted back about a week and a half to make sure it's done right. But you can pay to play for a blue check mark now. So pay $8 a month and get a verified check mark on Twitter. So that's one thing that he's implementing right now. And they've been making a lot of changes to who they allow on the platform and the way that they look about suspending accounts and deleting posts and things of that nature. And, Musk has said that he's 100% committed to free speech, while making sure that, the platform is still usable. And he wants to make Twitter the, de facto world, town square. And really allow citizen journalists a voice and, allow people to share stories and not just the mainstream media dominate and politics control what stories and what's getting out there. So just some things that Elon is doing. And it looks like he's kind of treating it like he treated Tesla, where you heard all those stories of, in SpaceX, where you heard the stories of people working 20 hours days and sleeping under their desks and never leaving the office 7 days at a time. And look what it's done for SpaceX and Tesla. It's really worked. So we'll see what he can do with Twitter.
Happened at Apple. Steve Jobs demanded the same thing of his engineers as well. So, and look what they were able to accomplish. So now it's very important to look at that, because a lot of people are going to have different viewpoints. People that work regular jobs or maybe W-2 employees are going to look at that and be like, he's such an asshole. You can't make people do that. They have families. He can't. And he is, because he wants greatness. And Elon's willing to do it. So he's also, he's leading by example. He's not just saying, hey, I'm going to work, 9 to 10 and you guys are going to work 20 hours. No, he's there. I don't know if anyone knows, but he is now permanently located. Like he's moved his entire business. Now he's working in the Twitter headquarters because he's got a lot of work to do, a lot of things to fix. So you could say what he's doing is wrong or not right. But then you could also say what the prior, Twitter management or executive team did was completely wrong by lying and doing things that definitely didn't benefit the company or the shareholders, but they did it just for self-interest. So there's two sides. And being a business owner, listen, maybe I'm always going to err with Elon because I think like a business owner, and I expect a lot from the people that work for me, but I also do a lot and I give a lot. And everybody that works for me makes a lot of money, but they make a lot of money because I make sure everybody's busting their ass. And that involves a lot of long days, a lot of stress, and a lot of weekends. Now, if that's not your cup of tea, just like he said, there's the door. If you can't handle the heat in the kitchen, get out of the kitchen. And we'll give you a severance. We'll give you 3 months. Go work for another company that's doing, bullshit business, and you'll probably not have a job for long. So I respect the man. I respect what he's doing. He's got a long uphill battle. There's no question, but he's a dedicated person. And if you look at his track history, he's done a pretty good job with the other ones, even though people said he would fail. I do want to hit a couple other things real quick, Stephen, that are important because it's, when we talked about the 401ks and taking loans, a lot of people came in with a bunch of questions. First off, no, we can't have you invite to join.
And just on that, Chris, remember, we do an Ask Me Anything every Wednesday at 4:30 Eastern right here on this exact same YouTube page or Facebook page or wherever you're watching. So join us at 4:30 and we'll answer all of these questions. And we take in a whole hour to do so. So definitely come back at 4:30 for more question and answer.
Yeah, but I just want to hit a couple because I know we're at the hour. One person said, don't deplete your 401k unless you stop the overspending on cards. Great point. So in other words, what he's saying is don't pay off all your credit cards with a loan from your 401k and then go rack them back up. You got to be somewhat logical and smart about things. And then the other person said, doesn't it have to be an emergency to do so? Absolutely not. You're confusing non-hardship withdrawals with loans. There's no restrictions on loans by most companies. Some companies might have that in their plan doc, but most companies do not. Sorry, my Instagram is not working here, so I got to end it. Hang on. So, with that being said, just don't be silly. And it doesn't take an emergency. And a lot of people are also saying, do you lose compound interest, though, if you do that? No, not at all. So when your money's in the stock market, that money is growing at whatever the stock market's doing. And where's it going? Down. So actually, you're doing yourself a solid right there, because if the markets continue to stream down, then by pulling out the loan to pay off high interest rate credit cards, you're actually putting yourself in a good situation. Plus, you're taking that money that you were paying the credit cards and you're putting that back in. You got to be diligent, right? You're taking that money and putting it back to the loan. You're repaying the loan with money you used to give away, and you're doing it and taking back the interest rate that you used to give to those credit cards. So I think that was mile 60 marker. You're not really losing compound interest, but you never really had compound interest in the first place. You had compound losses happening in your 401k. So I can't always say that with 401ks, but right now that would be probably a pretty accurate thing to say. You said someone was asking about the time to get out of the market. That's different for everybody. For most people, I would say if you can't handle any more losses now, it's probably a good thing, but there's a lot more to it. Join us for our training at 1 p.m. Eastern today, or Ask Me Anything at 4:30 Eastern tonight, where we can answer all the questions. But I love the questions coming in. I apologize. We are out of time. Stephen, what do you want? Anything you want to say as we kind of close this up?
No, just 1 o'clock Eastern is our wealth webinar today. So join us for that. And what are we getting in today on wealth webinar, Chris?
Oh, goodness. I'd have to look. What is today? Today, PMC. We're going to be talking Private Money Club, how to be a good lender, the different things to do with lending. Yeah, it's a great topic today. Great topic for all of you that want to be your own bank. So, yeah.
Yeah, so join us at 1 o'clock for that. You can just go to chrisnaugle.com and you'll see Wealth Webinar Wednesday. Hit register. It's a free webinar. And we actually send you 3 of Chris's books digitally so you can start learning more about banking. You got Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery, we'll send you for free. We got the Private Money Guide, we'll send you for free. And then we got one other third book, which is right here. It's called Drifting Away from Traditional Car Buying. So we'll send you those 3 just for registering for the free webinar to learn how to do private money lending and be the bank. And then if you do have any additional questions, join us at 4:30 for the Ask Me Anything happy hour, where we grab a beer, a drink, a coffee, a water, whatever you're sipping on. We have some fun with the entire Money Multiplier team. The rest of the week, I'll be in Sarasota tomorrow. Chris, you got any trips coming up this weekend?
Nope.
All right. Well, we'll be rocking and rolling. We're here for you. If you need anything, shoot us an email, a text message, and we'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
All right, folks. Thanks for joining us for another week of What the F Happened. Join us at 1 p.m. Eastern for the Wealth Webinar. You can register by going to chrisnaugle.com. Scroll down till you see the free Wealth Webinar. register. It costs you nothing, and you get the books. Until then, folks, have a good day.